Welcome back, everybody, to Refle's anime reviews and discussions. I'm Refle, and last time I reviewed Haganai, which was a pretty good show that you should watch. And this time, since it's been a few weeks since I've done one of these, just because of Fallout 4, just blame Fallout 4, and school. But this week, I'm going to be kind of counting down my top 5 shows from fall 2015, or I guess anime specifically. Top 5 anime from fall 2015. And so far this fall, I would say there's a lot of just a lot of good shows. I wouldn't say any show is great so far, unlike last season or in the summer, where I thought there was like 2 to 3 kind of great shows. None of that I would say is on that level, but there's a lot of just really good stuff. And putting together this top 5 was probably the hardest I've had to do so far. For the mid season top 5 that I usually do. Because like the difference between like the number one anime on this list and like the number like 7 or 8 one is not really that much of a difference. It's very very small. So it was tough trying to get us down to like 5 shows and separating which ones I thought were the best. Because they're all just on a very same level. And they're all just, good, I would say. But yeah, so a lot of these shows are about episode 7 at this point. There's 1 or 2 shows I need to catch up on because I'm an episode behind. But we're at a little bit past at the midway point for a lot of these shows, so let's get down to it. So number 5, I'm cheating here. I'm doing 2 shows because I can't pick one over the other. So technically this is like six shows in my top 5, but whatever. I get to talk about more stuff. But I'll start with the first number 5 show is Anti-Magic Academy, the 35th Platoon. 35th Test Platoon. I'm always, like, whenever I hear Platoon now, I think of Splatoon, and I cannot say Platoon without trying to put an S in front of it. It's not good. Curse you, Nintendo. But this show it doesn't have the greatest title, because I don't think Anti-Magic Academy, the 35th Test Platoon, is that great of a title, but that's just me. But the show is set. It has a really good setting. It's different than a lot of shows from this season that are kind of in the same genre. Because the setting I feel like sets it apart. It's about a group of, I guess really they're pretty much students at like a military academy that fights against witchcraft and magic. And we follow the 35th Test Platoon, which is full of like it's recognized as like the worst platoon in the school for the most part, with a lot of like just the students who are unique and nobody wants to kind of work with them because they have some flaws or something like that. But the main character and the leader of the platoon is Takeru Kusanagi, who I think is the only swordsman at the school. He doesn't have guns or anything. And the others in the group are Oka Otori, who joins up with them later on, and she's kind of she gets demoted to her platoon because of reasons, because she really hates magic and witches like a lot, and she's kind of the serious one that is very skilled. Yeah, that probably sums her up best. And then we have Usagi Senanji. She's a sniper, and she's from a high class family, but she can't handle pressure, which is not good for a sniper. And there's Akaruga Suganami, who's the hacker slash intelligence person, who's a pervert. And then there's Marie, who is a witch, and she joins up with them later on. But the show, it just has a cool setting that's just different from the rest of the shows I'm watching. I feel like as far as there's no real main plot at this point. I mean, there are hints to the main plot, but so far it's just focused on little mini arcs of like 1 or 2 episodes. There's some harem aspects to it that, I mean, this is like a fantasy action harem show, which I think most of the shows on this list are that, and it's just because there's a lot of those kind of shows this fall. But I feel like this show kind of separates itself from others because of its setting. It does a really good job with villains. Like, I really like it makes the villains very dislikeful. Is that even a word? Yeah, they make you really just want the heroes to beat the shit out of the villains because they're just like horrible people, the villains. Yeah, they do a really good job with villains, which is surprising. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how things turn out. So far, the action sequences have been a little bit underwhelming. But we'll see. We'll just see how things go. But I feel like it's a solid show that's a little bit different than other shows in the genre. Yeah, so that is tied for 5th with the Astris War, which is, it's pretty much in the same genre as Anti-Magic Academy. But the show is about Ayato Amagiri, who heads to this academy to kind of be part of... He's like trying to look for his sister who disappears. And the school is for like... what is it? What do we even call it? It's like they fight at a school and they have tournaments with other schools, and it decides stuff. I don't know what, but it's kind of similar to another show, which I'll get to. Especially the first episode. It's very similar. The 2 shows have very, very similar first episodes. But Ayato meets up with a few other people. There's some harem aspects. It's an action romance show. Yeah, I feel like it has it's kind of a dark show at times. Like it definitely feels like we're hinting at some very dark stuff's gonna happen, which is I guess a little bit surprising. The action's okay from what I've seen so far. I feel like it has a solid group of solid group of characters. Julius is like the female main character for the most part, and she's like a highly ranked student at the academy, and so is Ayato. He actually, I'll shut up. He's highly ranked. He's unlike another show, he's actually well known for his skills. But yeah, I really can't get much into it. It's kind of what you would expect for this type of show. I just think it's a well done show for this kind of genre, and it's interesting. There's some cool moments, and I'm interested to see where the show goes to. Because like I said, it hints at some dark stuff. But we'll have to see. But number 4 is Owari Monogatari, or Owari Monogatari. I like to say Owari Monogatari because it's just fun to say, but I know that's not right at all. But the show, how can I say this? It's like within the first 10 minutes, of the show, I had my mouse cursor right over, the close tab button, and I was just about to just close the tab and be done with the show forever. But I never did click the close out tab, and it's as close as I've ever gone from like not watching the show to sticking with it. Because I was literally a click of a button away from giving up on the show. But I don't know what made me stick with it, but I'm glad I did, because it's a very interesting show. It's different than what I'm usually used to watching. It's more of a kind of mystery, sort of very kind of psychological show that's very stylized and artistic. And it's a show that just kind of makes you think and keeps you thinking about what is going on, what is actually going on, what is happening. But the show centers around. Now, I guess I should do this. I did not know. I guess I did know that. I guess I sort of knew that that there's other Monogatari series. Like, this is the third one, I think. Other ones are called different things other than Owari Monogatari, but they all have Monogatari, I think, in the title. But I have not watched the other shows, which probably would help with some confusion I might have with the show. But this is something I just recently learned. That, like, I think one of the previous seasons has, like, there's vampires in this universe, and if you told me that, and I hadn't looked anything up and I was just watching this, I would have been like, no, there's no vampires at all, because there's no hint whatsoever that there's vampires in this show. Like, I would not believe you if you told me that, because nothing hints at it, really. I mean, the main character, Araragi, he has that kind of vampire-ish look, but I wouldn't say I would not, like, assume he's a vampire. He has, like, a little gothic tinge to him, but I wouldn't say there's vampires. But apparently there's vampires. But so far I haven't noticed any of that stuff at all. But it just centers around Aragi, who kind of it's really just kind of learning, at least the first half of the season is kind of learning about something that happened in his past and trying to deal with a relationship that is it's in bad shape. And he gets help from Ogi Oshino, who's a very weird character, and I don't even know. It doesn't even seem like she is real at times, but she is, and she's a different kind of character. And you actually don't. I mean, you really don't even know if she's a good character or a bad character, but maybe we'll see how things turn out. But it's a show that just really makes you think, because it deals with a lot of like rules and ideas, just a lot of psychological, social, psychological. Just makes you really think about stuff. And even after episodes, I'm like thinking, okay, like what is actually going on right now? What could cause this to be happening, or why is this person acting this way? Like, it just makes you think. It's a show that it's confusing, at least at times for me, and part of it's probably because I'm just being dumb, and I'm not used to these types of shows, and it's probably a little bit. It's probably translation, a loss in translation. But yeah, it's a very interesting show, very stylized. It'll make you think. And I was very close to giving up on it. But I'm glad I stuck with it. But we're just beginning a new arc in the show, because they just closed. Basically, I think it's like 2 arcs in a season, and it just closed one. Which I found it not too satisfying, but I accepted it. But yeah, Owari Monogatari. That's not how you say it probably, but I like saying it that way. It's a good show. It makes you really think. Yeah, I recommend it. Number 3 is. I'm trying to think what I had. Oh yeah, number 3 is Chivalry of a Failed Knight, and now this show is the show I was talking about that is very similar to Astris War. And I watched this show first before I watched Astris War, or I guess the Astris War. The first episode of this and the Astris War are really, really similar. Like, if you put them up next to each other, you might think it's the same show, but with just a change in character looks and like, you would pretty much be like, if this might have been like a backup episode they did for a show or something, or like a previous version of the show. But no, they're 2 different shows, but they were very, very similar first episodes. I would actually recommend watching both first episodes just to see how similar they can be. But I thought the show started out better than Astris War did. But yeah, so this show follows Iki Kurogane, who is an F-rank blazer, which is like, it's just like Anti-Magic Academy and the Astris War, in that it's a school with kids and they fight each other in tournaments and stuff. But Kurogane is an F-rank 1, so he is the worst of the worst. He doesn't even have blazer powers, unlike everybody else. So he relies solely on his skills as a swordsman. And he is like he is treated like crap in his family, who is a very highly respected family in this universe, but he is considered like trash to them because he doesn't have any blazer powers. So he wants to prove he's strong and he can be the best of the best. So yeah, he has to go from worst to first. And he meets up with Stella Vermilion, who is an A-rank blazer. She's considered one of the top 3 or so best at the school or whatever. And she's from a different country. She travels to Japan to go to a school. Yeah, they actually fight the first episode because of some dumb stuff that happens. It's not like an official fight, even though it is official for somewhat. But they fight and Kurogane wins. So yeah, you can, and I would say the fight, like, the show has really good fight scenes. I really like it a lot. I think it's really well animated. It's just really entertaining to watch the fight scenes, and that's kind of the main draw of the show, I would say. The show does hint at like some harem aspects. I would say in the first like 3 episodes, but I wouldn't say it's a harem at all. Like you'll see why if you watch the show, as to why it isn't a harem. But I wouldn't say that at all. After a while, I would say it's a romance show somewhat, but it's pretty much action fantasy, and there's some really good fight scenes. Like I said, yeah, I mean, Kurigane's just like part of me really doesn't like him as a character because he's just like way too nice. Just way too nice at times, and it's very generic-y, but also he's just a badass at times when he fights. Because he gets the crap beat out of him a lot, but he always manages to just outsmart or outskill his opponent, and just very cool fights. The show also has a really cool and probably my favorite opening of the season, because it has a killer soundtrack and it's very artistic and stylized, and I like it a lot. I might put a clip and just show you how cool it is. 拒む熱い道を起死回生その時が来たの But yeah, I really like it. Good opening, good fight scenes. It's the story I would say isn't as good, the main story, because I don't really know what the main story is. It's basically just them fighting opponents. For the most part at this point. So I think Astris War has a slight better main story draw with like the missing sister in that show. But this show is basically about just keep fighting and winning. But I really think it's just well done for that. And it does stuff that is against the grain for these types of shows. And it kind of surprises me how things go at times. I'm kind of like, it's not how I expect it to. Usually it's, with this type of show, there's things you expect to happen, and the show does things that goes against that, and it surprises me, but maybe it isn't all that surprising, but I think it is. Yeah, so that is number 3. Number 2 is I need to find it. Beautiful Bones, Sakurakos. I need to get better at these names. I watch the shows, but I don't ever pay attention to how they pronounce the names. Why am I like that, man? Beautiful Bones, Sakurakos investigation. Sakurako's investigation. What did I want to say? And the show is a detective mystery kind of show. And it's just a really story-driven show that has just some good detective information or detective like story stuff. There's just little mini. Each episode is kind of focused on another mystery, and these 2 students. Shotaro Tatawaki and Sakurako Kujo kind of go out and basically solve these mysteries. Kujo is the main, pretty much the main reason these get solved. She is like the niece or something of a famous detective, and she's very smart, and she really likes bones. She has like a whole bunch of bones all over her place, and she understands them very well, and she uses bones to basically solve these puzzles of like what is going on with how this person died or something like that. And it's just interesting to watch. There's just some really good, like, just some very, very good storytelling going on in the show, with some touching moments. And yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say. It's a show I would highly recommend watching. And it's a show it's kind of a show I don't usually watch, detective / mystery stuff. But I heard it was pretty good, so I checked it out, and it's good. It is very good. So yeah, if you kind of like that type of show, this is worth watching. I think it gets off to a slow start. I think episode 1's like kind of meh, but I really think it kind of gets off to a good start in episode 2. So stick with it. I'm sure you will like it. Number 1, though, is probably the most hyped show going into going into the fall season, and it's a show I think people have been talking about for a while, and I learned of it just from reading chat and stuff. So I was looking forward to it, and it is number 1 is One Punch Man. You may have heard of it because it is becoming kind of popular. But as a show is named, One Punch Man is about a character, which I always forget his name. Saitama, that's where it is. Saitama, who basically he defeats all his enemies in one punch. For me, going into this anime, I was very interested to see how they could stretch this out into a full season. Because, like, how interesting would the fight scenes be if just one punch would kill an enemy? And, like, what the tone was for kind of this show would be. Like, I had a lot of questions going in, but I wasn't sure if the show was going to be kind of overhyped at times, but I feel like we did a really good job with how they kind of constructed this show. But some backstory. Saitama, basically, like, he fights like a villain earlier on, and he decides to be a hero at that point because he's just kind of like a lonely businessman who just lost his job, so he just kind of doesn't know what to do with his life, so he just saves this kid and he wants to be a hero. So he goes out and trains for, I don't know how many, I think it's 2 years or something like that. And he goes out and trains, and in those 2 years, he basically becomes a god, and he can kill anything in one punch. He has super speed, and he can't fly. But he doesn't really need to. So yeah, that's kind of what the show is about. It's literally about one, like, I would say it's literally about one dude who can just kill stuff in one punch. But the show is really funny at times, and the action is really, really good, which is surprising because the action sometimes the action scenes go on longer than you would think, because it's really just a one-sided action fight because Saitama's just like not even into it. But it's still very interesting. But in this universe, I should point out that there's a whole bunch of heroes. There's bad stuff that happens all the time. I swear the show has already had millions of people die in it. In these towns. But there's these heroes, a hero association that there's a whole bunch of ranked heroes, or anything from S rank to probably like C or D ranked heroes. So it's just a world filled with bad guys and heroes and monsters, and Saitama is just a whole nother level than all of them, and you'll see why in the show. But just another thing I feel like the show does well, and this really, I think, is what helps the show just like kind of stay entertaining, especially for action sequences, is in like the second or third episode, they add a character by the name of Genos, who's a cyborg, and he kind of just becomes the disciple or student of Saitama, and he isn't nearly as powerful as Saitama is, because nobody really is, but he is powerful, and he's basically like he's like on the same level playing field as all the bad guys. So when he fights, it's like an actual fight sequence that's really cool, and really well done. And then Saitama just punches them and they blow up and die. But I feel like if they didn't have a character like Genos, something would be missing from the show. So I think that was really well done. And like I said, the show was actually really funny. Just because of how ridiculous it can be at times. Oh yeah, and he's bald because he lost his hair because he trained so hard, and he can't get it back. He lost a lot of emotion too. Yeah, the show is just funny, a lot of good action sequences, and I'm gonna throw in a clip. Hopefully, I remember of just like this is like what you can expect from the show because of his how powerful Saitama is, but he just basically backslaps an enemy and they blow up. So hopefully I remember to include that clip. Because it's pretty entertaining. Because you just fucking blow up. We have a show. I feel like it's getting better with each episode too. So, it's a show I would highly recommend watching. It's very good. And so far the best from the midway point for the fall season. So yeah, so that should wrap it up. There's tons of shows that, like I said, probably could have been in the top 5. I mean, there's not much difference, like I said, between One Punch Man and stuff that isn't on the list. I mean, there's a difference, but not too big of a difference. And even like the shows that just barely missed out, like have potential to be in the top 5 at the end of the year. Yeah, I feel like it's a good season. A lot of good, solid shows. So yeah, I'll be reviewing a lot of them in a few weeks when they wrap up. And if you have any shows you recommend me checking out, let me know. Let me know what your favorite shows from the season are so far. I'm sure you have a different top 5 than me. I mean that's obvious because everybody has different tastes and everything like that. Yeah, solid season. And yeah, so next time I'll be back with kind of an older show that's 1 or 2 years old. But it's a very, very good show. It's gonna get a good rating. I'll see that. Good score. And hopefully I can give it up pretty soon. But for now, I should wrap it up. I know it's a long video, but I talked a lot about a lot of these shows, so hopefully you can understand. But I have been Refle. You guys are watching Refle's anime reviews and discussions, and I'll see you next time with whatever anime I am reviewing or discussing. So I'll see you later.